welcome to the stream. I am Kel McDonald, and I make comics. You can read at kelmcdonald.com.
Hey, and I am Alina Pete, and I can make comics that you can read at alinapete.com or at weregeek.com. Thanks for joining us.
Um,
It's
and
nothing
Alina,
going on in the world tonight. Everything's fine.
it's a full moon,
It's a full blood moon, and there was an
and it's
eclipse
an
last night.
eclipse.
Yeah,
Uh,
let's
Good
do
times
Werewolf
all around.
Sonus. Let's be extra werewolfy
Yeah.
tonight.
Um, guess what I watched this weekend? Actually, you already know what I watched this
Hell
weekend.
yes.
And that's what we should talk about.
Good, good.
Um, I watched Reservation Dogs,
Yup.
which
Such a
is
good
fucking rad.
show. So good. Man, I could talk about that show for
Uh,
hours.
I love it. It's great.
Yep.
The main girl, the one who's named after the character in Willow.
Elora. Yep.
Um, yeah. How
Elora
do you say her
Danan.
name?
Elora.
Okay. I'm so bad at names. Anyway, she is in the Order.
Right. Which I still need to
As
see.
it's the Order is not a good show. It is a show that trips over interesting ideas. Um, and then uh, I think about it constantly because I'm like, but what if it was good?
But what if they went just a little
Um,
bit further? What if?
yeah. Anyway, I love the episode where they go to buy weed, or they
Oh,
try to
God.
sell the old guy's weed.
Yes, Weed Uncle.
That's I love that episode.
So
That was
funny.
wonderful. I just love like everyone being like, it's legal now. Why would we buy
You're like
the weed that
stinky
you
ditchweed from a million years
yeah
ago.
your stinky ditch weed from that you buried in your yard.
Yep. I was
Uh,
telling you, but I will tell the chat that that guy, that actor, I can't remember his name, but the guy who plays Fun Weed Uncle, has played like the wise old Indian guy in
yeah, I
basically
recognized him.
everything.
Like, yeah.
Like
Uh,
he's the guy they get when they're like, we want like a spiritual Indian man to be very mystical at us. And so him playing the pot
yeah,
uncle is just so funny. But also he
yeah.
was when I saw him, I
Um,
was like, hey, I know you. How's it going?
and he did the naked dance to move the tornado.
Yes,
That was wonderful.
so good,
I love Weed Uncle.
so good. So Reservation Dogs is one of
Uh,
those shows where I didn't binge it because each of the episodes was so different from one another, and each of them had such a different emotional punch. Um,
mhm.
and then a couple of them just straight up destroyed me. Like the one where Bear is all excited to see his father.
I
Just
did
reminded
think it
me
was funny that the bead lady, all her bead things look
we're all
like
dicks.
dicks.
It's the best. I knew that
Yeah.
joke was in there before because I follow several native beater uh, um,
Hmm.
sites on like Instagram and stuff, so that shouldn't come as a surprise. Uh, but they were all like, that was the trend for a week or two, where everyone was like, hell yes, let's all be dicks, cause this auntie did, and like that's just funny.
Yeah.
So even
So
before I
yeah,
saw the show, I knew that was in there.
I really liked the dick microphone.
Yes.
I I also fucking loved when Bear's mom had that one night stand with that white guy.
Oh hell yes! And then it all
Um
started going downhill,
and
and you're just like, oh get out, get
like
out!
she wakes up and she's like, hooray, he's rich. And then she talks to him and he has a Confederate flag tattoo,
Yeah, and
and like it just
he's definitely got a weird fetish for native ladies. And it was like, oh hell no,
yeah.
oh I'm gonna
It's yeah,
die.
like as
Let's
soon
get
as
out of
she's
here.
like, "Is that a Confederate flag?" I was like, "Oh, run, run,
Yeah, run,
lady,
run, run.
uh,
That
run
was
the other direction."
yep. Oh, but he's so
Um,
interested in how ancient and mystical your people are. Yeah, run, run faster.
run. Uh, don't let him get you.
Nope.
Then I also um I really like Wilhelmina Jack. When she was
Oh
visiting,
yes.
was it her aunt that was in prison?
Was that a season 2 one?
I was like, yeah.
Okay, I haven't. I'm still working my way in through season 2. Again, like season 1, I am like
Oh,
savoring every episode because
oh, okay.
they've all
Well,
got such a different emotional punch.
she is a very good conversation with a hippie, and
Good,
while she's visiting a family member in prison.
good. I love
I
the character of Willie Jack because so a bunch of
yeah.
people were posting and were like, "Oh man, Willie Jack is such a revolutionary character because she's like just a really cool like it's neat that they really went against gender types with her." And I'm like, "No, no, 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 no. Y'all don't understand. That's just a type of girl on the reserve. Like that's like one of my cousins.
I
I know
love
her.
that she wants to be a wizard when she grows up.
Yes.
Uh,
Good goals.
yeah. Hashtag goals.
Hashtag goals. I've drawn myself as some sort of were-cat. I don't know why. You're just straight up wolf, obviously.
Obviously.
And oh, I should
Be-
put a blood moon in the sky up here. Woo!
because it is a full moon, my Discord did the movie night. We watched
Nice,
Wolf.
nice.
So we got to watch Jack Nicholson pee on James Spader.
That what everyone has
Um,
always wanted. Truly.
uh,
There we go.
have
Now we're
Have
in
you seen
red.
Wolf?
I have not.
Okay, I really like Wolf. A lot of werewolf movie fans don't actually like it.
Right, because he's not a werewolf, right?
Um,
Like he's a changeling spirit that is a wolf.
no, he's just turning into a wolf.
Oh, okay.
Like he doesn't go back and forth. He is slowly becoming a wolf.
Gotcha.
And supposedly when he turns into a wolf, he is going to he's gonna be like an immortal demon wolf.
Ah, cool.
But anyway, um
There.
I like it because it's kind of quieter and slower.
Mm, than a lot of
So
werewolf movies.
it's really focused on him slowly figuring out what's going on,
Nice.
without like, it's not really an action horror movie. I have someone in my chat saying, "Hi there, Kel, fun movie."
Good.
Yeah, they were in my Discord and they watched Wolf.
Good.
I like it because it's basically, it's like slowly as changes happen, like he gets bit and then he sleeps through the whole day.
Mm.
Um,
And
and
he's like,
then
"What happened? That
when
was weird."
well, he just like the scene is. I think it also has a dry sense of humor that appeals to me.
Good.
So it's like his alarm goes off and his wife is like, "Time to wake up," and he says, "Give me till 8," like, and it's 7:30. And then it cuts to later in the evening, and his wife comes home from work and uh is like, "What are you still doing in bed?" And then he looks at the clock and he says, "I told you to give me till 8. It's 7:40." And she goes, "It's 7:40 at night, you dope." Um
Good.
and so basically he got 20 hours of sleep after getting bit by a wolf.
That's
Um
your body's got to recover from
and
something like that.
yeah, and then he wakes up and he's like super horny, and uh like undoes his wife's bathrobe with his teeth after they're
Good.
having dinner. Um and a lot of werewolf movies use werewolfism as a metaphor for puberty.
Yep.
This movie decided to use werewolfism as a metaphor for a midlife crisis.
Good.
um,
Good.
Because it's like he's stagnated at his job, and like becoming a wolf gives him the energy to like be ruthless enough at negotiation that now he was not going to get fired because they were firing him for not being aggressive enough
Right,
because
and he's
it's
like, I'm a
early
werewolf now.
90s guys.
I'm a werewolf.
He's a wolf of Wall Street now.
Good.
And and like he maybe wasn't fucking his wife enough,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
he finds out she was cheating on him.
Right. And now he's
um
like, yo, I'm a wolf
and then
now, so
then he leaves her, and then he fucks Michelle Pfeiffer, so um
as you
who is younger
do
than his wife.
during a midlife crisis slash werewolf werewolfing.
Listen, no matter what age she is, Michelle Pfeiffer's hot.
It's true.
Um,
Yeah. Whew. I'm gonna
uh,
redo this entire scene because I had it all thumbnailed and I was like, great, should be ready to start drawing it. And then the author was like, actually, it takes place in a tent, not a cabin. I was like, that's why we do thumbnails, because I wouldn't have liked to have drawn the
yeah,
entire page and then find out it took place in a
yeah.
tent.
That's why
So
you communicate things in the script.
exactly. Oh
Um,
well, it would be nice if there was descriptions, but we'll sort that out. So I'm gonna
next
redraw this panel.
next movie we're gonna watch is called The Wolf of Snow Hollow,
Oh, cool.
which I haven't seen. But since the December moon is called the cold moon, I was like, that's appropriate.
I mean, technically,
Like,
this one where I'm from is called the frost moon. I know they're calling it like
yeah.
the beaver blood moon or something, but it's frost moon. And fun fact, I have that tattooed on my leg because that is also the month I was born.
Oh,
And my
fun.
siblings and I all got matching tattoo. Well, not matching tattoos, but like we got our birth month on them as part of the mark of us being siblings.
Mm-hmm.
So
Cool.
my brother is frog moon, and my sister is flying away moon, and I am frost moon. So that's fun.
Um. Anyway, I'm ready for people to get eaten in the snow.
Good.
But man, Reservation Dogs,
Reservation
good
Dogs is
shit.
such a good show. So like I was
Okay,
saying,
so
the
how
episode with
far
the brother,
have? Yeah.
the episode with the brother
Uh,
freaking destroyed me for like a week because he reminded me so much of my brother and his absentee father. I was just like, okay, I'm not okay after watching this episode. I'm not gonna be okay for a few days.
um. How far did you get?
In the
Because I know you're saying
second
random. I don't
season,
want to.
I am 2 episodes in.
Okay, because I don't want to spoil any shit for you.
Gotcha.
I did like when they were road tripping and they were gonna steal that lady's car, and then she
Yes.
pulls up to them and is like, "Do you wanna come in and whatever?"
Yeah.
And she's kind of just a sad white lady. Uh, and then they steal her car anyway.
Yes.
Um,
What does the inside of an A-frame tent look like? Hang on, I'm gonna need reference.
and then I really like the spirit guide, the warrior
Oh,
who
he's
keeps talking about how
amazing.
his nipples are
He's
hard and
amazing. That guy is
yeah,
from a native improv comedy group. And
good.
he's got a TikTok channel where he does a bunch of like bits, and it's really, really funny. What are they
Yeah.
called? There's like the 1812 gang or something.
I also
1850.
uh
1491s. 1491s.
I like that they ate so many chips that what's her name got ulcers.
That's just a thing. Like that's just legit.
Yeah.
That happens.
Um it's a real good show.
Ooh,
Cheese is wonderful. I
Cheese is
love
such
him
a good
and
character.
I want to protect him.
Yes.
I love him so much.
Yep.
I love him and his fake grandma.
I love it. She's his real cookum. She's just not his cookum.
Yeah.
Just like when you're on the res, you got lots of aunties. They're not necessarily your auntie, but they're still your auntie.
Yeah. Good shit.
Hang on, I might have to draw this in 3D to figure out what the what is this going to look like inside. It's going to be a long tent, and then it's A-frame, so there'll be a pole in either end. Gotcha. Gotcha, gotcha. God, that's just not a lot of floor space to put these shots into. Okay. Okay, I can do this. I can do this. We're figuring this out. I love that the heist in the first episode of the first season just sets the scene for a lot of shit later, where they're just like they're still eating and selling hot chips. That's just a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Did I tell you about the one time that we decided that we were gonna do a neck bones night? Because on the res, like neck bones are a big deal. Pork neck bones, just boiled. Uh, Sometimes you bake them, but like only if you're getting fancy. With salt and pepper. It's very important. Lots of salt,
Mm-hmm.
lots of pepper. And they're real greasy
Cool.
and real tasty and delicious. So like a delicacy. And I was like, Lane, we're watching a lot of Reservation Dogs. Let's get pork neck bones from the Asian grocer down the street. They always have them. We've never
Mm.
bought them before. So let's do like full on, have some neck bones. I'm going to make fry bread and we'll watch Reservation Dogs. And I forgot that I do not have a reservation stomach. I've always been urban. I've lived urban my entire life, and I got a delicate little constitution. So I wrecked
Aw.
myself eating neck bones. I was like, had a tummy ache for the rest of the night. And I was like, no, I'm too delicate and urban. My cousins are ashamed of
Poor
me now.
tummy. Poor tum tums.
Yep. I'm not cut out for this. Okay, I think I'm sorting out this tiny tent that needs to have 7 characters in it. I think we're gonna make this work. Oh god, I should check the later on pages and make sure I'm not screwing myself over. Because they need to have an entire dinner sequence in this, like, tiny A-frame pup tent. How is that gonna work? Yeah, I'm right. They're having a full meal. I think I can make it work, though.
Cool. That's good.
Just instead of standing up over this little wood fire oven, I'm gonna have him sort of squatting, I think. So
Okay.
this is a A-frame tent. Let's do like that. As I replan out all my pages. All right, we got this. I'm gonna cheat it a little bit so it's actually quite a big A-frame from the outside. That's good. That's potentially standable at the highest points. I think that's a good thing to shoot for. And I don't think I'll have them sitting at a table. I think they'll be like on the floor eating off of blankets.
That does also seem easier to draw.
Yeah. And you don't have to worry about
Sitting on the
chairs.
floor.
Yeah.
Yeah. Once
See,
again, reminding me of the show Blue Blazes, where the guy's like, "Oh, if you draw a classroom, there's 10 students. 10 chairs and 10 desks, and that's 20 things already.
I don't want
Like,
that. I don't want to draw that.
that's already
Here.
20 things.
And then if I put like a little blankie over here, this kid can be setting the blanket instead of setting the table. And she can be hanging out over here, and he's kind of like stooped because there. Okay, we're sorting this out. Gotta stoop when you're cooking in a tent. This is a scene where these kids have gone out on their own to go and check the trap line, and they're at a tent along it, having a little cookout. There, and she can be holding the water bucket still, but she can stand up because she's short. Okay, and then this one will have them seated at a blanket instead. Holding his food. I'm sure everybody's like, I can't see what the hell you're drawing, but this is an animator trick where you just draw real fast, just get the gesture of it out. Don't sit and try and get it too tightened up just yet because you're still figuring out where the details are. There, and then there can be some plates on the blanket. There's a frying pan. They're not fancy, they're in a tent.
Yeah.
They don't need to be eating off of plates. They just got a bucket and some frying pans. And that way, if everyone's sitting, I could probably fit all 7 of them into this one tiny shot. Hey,
Good.
tricks.
Yay, you did
Composition
it.
tricks. I figured it out. We got this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. One more. There's one more kid here. Right. Okay, there. Yeah. Yeah, we got this. Give him his hat. I won't draw him in his hat, but that's just so I remember who that scribble is. It's the brother that wears the hat.
Trains have too many fiddly bits.
Oh, they sure do. You drawing a train scene?
I am drawing this is the Failure to Launch comic that
Oh,
Ryan
right.
North wrote.
Right.
I have to draw people in a movie theater watching the Great Train Robbery.
Oof.
Um Dry Otter says Alina does an amazing job narrating as they draw.
Oh, thank you.
Anyway, I am drawing. So Ryan said that there are people watching the Great Train Robbery. So it's not just a train, but
It's
it
a
is
Great
a
Train
famous
robbery.
specific train
Oof.
that like movie nerds need to be able to recognize.
They know. Yeah, that's a tall order.
So I can't fudge it as much as I normally would.
Hopefully there's good
Because
reference for
Ryan
it.
on the huh?
Hopefully there's
It's
good
the
reference
thing
for it.
is I am not finding the shot that I specifically need.
Right.
It's all videos rather than
Oh, right.
images. So because it's the train that supposedly caused a panic because it was the film showed it going straight toward the audience.
Right. And people at that time had not seen stuff like that before, so we're all
I think that though
freaked
that
out
might
by
be
it.
apocryphal. Because that doesn't like it happens later in the movie. So like
You figured out.
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't buy that history story. Flip the table over.
I mean, what people forget a lot about some of that early stuff is that there was the same sort of sensationalist reporting going on. Maybe not to the same extent as
Mm-hmm.
now, but like if one fancy lady was like, "Oh, I have the vapors because the train came to near me," they would report on that just because it, makes it sells some newspapers.
It's also stuff like um, uh, who said like oh people got startled like
Mm-hmm.
were they making fun of like lower class people or whatever
Yeah, they're
for
like, "Oh,
being
they're so
amazed at
dumb.
it
They don't know what the real train
um
is."
or yeah cuz it's also stuff like okay in Edwardian times it was commonly believed that red wine was too strong for women. Women just couldn't handle
Ah.
red
Oh
wine.
gosh.
Um, I don't know if you've seen the dresses that ladies wore in Edwardian
Yeah.
times,
Yeah, they were
but they're
stupid tight.
all no, it's not that they're tight.
It's
They're all
corseted.
white.
Oh yeah.
So if you're at a
Right.
party and
You're
you're
not
given the
spilling that.
offer of white wine and red wine,
Right.
you take the white wine because the red wine, if you spill it, is gonna ruin your dress.
That's true.
Like, yeah. So
There.
it's kind of like, but dudes writing like at the time, like reporting on stuff, like, oh, red wine's just too strong for ladies.
Yep.
Um,
Can't have that. It also stains the teeth. I'm sure they were not wanting unsightly.
I don't think I don't I don't think people cared as much about teeth in
Probably not.
Edwardian times.
Certainly not in
Um,
Britain.
yeah.
All right, let's do fuzzy hair brother there. I'm gonna move the tent flap back a little bit, and then give the wall there. Okay, maybe have a kid
Oh,
lying in the
there
front
was
here.
also another thing about watching Reservation Dogs is right before it, I watched another movie. I watched another show that also has prominent Native American folks in it,
Nice. Which one?
but is the complete other end of the spectrum. Um, it's more we're gonna look at white people for being weird,
Oh,
and there
interesting.
was just like one Native American character who's like, "This is all some serious bullshit." I watched Under the Banner of Heaven,
Huh.
which is about horrible murders that happened in the Mormon community.
Good, good, good.
So like the main characters are like a Mormon police officer who is like a regular Mormon.
Mm.
Um, and then there's his new partner is a Native American guy from who was working in Las Vegas. So at first main character is like, oh, these are nice, good suburb people. This isn't Las Vegas full of sin and murder. And then
Right.
it's as they uncover more
It's
and more
much more.
horrific, horrible things going on, way worse than anything the guy saw in Vegas.
Right.
Um, uh, and there's a lot of like Mormons saying bullshit about Native Americans while the uh, Native American guy is like, shaking his head like, what the fuck? Like,
Right.
this is some nonsense bullshit that you guys tell yourself.
Good.
Um,
Fascinating.
because I don't know if you know some of the weird shit that Mormons think about Native Americans, but
No?
it makes like some of the shit that Stephanie Meyer put in Twilight even more offensive.
Oh God. Lay it on me. I'm ready. I'm
All
ready.
right,
Let's hear this.
there's some um fundy Mormonism is if so they think like this, and this is like super fundy. This isn't like mainstream Mormonism.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so they think first of all that black people are black just because they're full of sin and they cannot be saved.
Right, right.
So traditionalist Mormons think black people should not be preachers, that they're beyond hope.
Oh God. Cool, cool.
And
Starting
but
some real good racism. Good, good.
counterpoint, Native Americans are darker because they have been somehow stained by a sin, but they can be redeemed. So if they convert to Mormonism, they will become white in heaven.
Oh, cool. Great.
Um,
Nice.
and that Mormons should reproduce with as many Native Americans as
To
possible to
save
make
them.
them whiter.
Good. So inherent in the worldview here is that white people are the purest and goodest, and the
Yes.
browner you get, the more sin your soul is full of. Cool. Good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But specifically that Native people, they're like, we gotta fuck them.
Right. Right.
Like,
I mean, you gotta assimilate them
because they're
somehow.
the good brown people that
Right.
can be
Right.
saved. They're not a
Mm-hmm.
lost cause. And
Where?
uh so there's a part, so it's like when they go talk to some old lady, like she gives like the native guy, like she, as they're leaving, she starts to give him a speech about like, you can be saved if you do this, blah blah blah, and
Oh.
like, and then you'll become white, and isn't that great?
Oh boy.
um and then they go talk to this other guy about some like history thing, and the guy's all like, no, Native Americans are great, like they helped us protect the Mormon way, and that's why we're here, is because we work together with the natives. And then the native guy laughs and then says, yeah, this is how my grandpa tells it, because they're talking about events that happened 100 years ago.
Right.
So like,
Like that's still
this
within.
this older, yeah, so
Yeah.
this older native guy, his grandpa was alive when it happened.
Yes. And he's like, no, I know how that went down.
Yeah.
Because he was there and he told me. That's it. That's the chain
Yeah,
of.
my grandpa who was there told me this is what happened.
Yeah.
So I
So however you're saying it went down
so,
is not correct.
yes, and it's like racist propaganda.
I remember having a fight with somebody at school when I was going to school down the States. And like, it's not that I was in the States, it was just that, because I could have had the same fight with somebody up here in Canada, but they were like,
Mhm.
God, it was so long ago though. Why are you all still mad about this? And I was like, because it was literally my grandfather who's still alive. I mean, he's not anymore, but he was at the time. I was like, my grandmother who is still alive went to residential school. I could call her up. You can
Yeah.
talk to her. She's right here. Like, it was so
Also,
long ago though. Why are you still upset about it?
yeah.
It wasn't though, and even if it was a long time ago, y'all still got the land, and we're still not allowed to live on
Yeah.
it. So that's a problem.
I did like in Reservation Dogs that there's that white couple
Oh
that like
God.
sees the land back graffiti,
Oh my
and he's
God.
like, "You mean they want all of it?"
Yeah.
Like, like,
Okay. I laughed so hard during that sequence that we had to pause because they were hitting like a bingo card of like shit I've heard before. And I was like, "Oh man, this is why it's so nice to watch a show written by native folks is cuz like I've had this
uh,
I've had this conversation with my cousins of like what's the script for the like really ignorant white people being like, are they going to kick us out of here? Ah, oh, what does even land back mean?
it,
That just sounds. Why can't we just all be friends?
yeah. And yeah, so it was wild to watch Under the Banner of Heaven and then
Oh
watch
God.
Reservation
Oh
Dogs.
yeah.
um,
Woof. Thematic shift.
um, because I think the native guy was like well written. Like he's a cop, so he can
Hmm.
only be so good. But
Exactly.
he was a good. I feel like he was a good choice to be the straight man as they delved more and more to the
Into this
weird
weird shit. Yeah.
Mormon bullshit.
Oof.
Uh, because if you don't know what the plot of Under the Banner of Heaven is it's a nonfiction book that documents these horrific murders that happened in the 70s
Huh.
that were covered up by, because Mormons control everything in Utah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And basically, they were an extremist fundamentalist group that was also anti-government, anti-taxation.
Yes, that sounds about right.
So it was stuff like this one family got more, like, basically one brother wanted to fuck other women besides his wife, and then learned about polygamy in, like, that there were still Mormons that practice it. And you kind of, through the desire to fuck other women, got more and more into fundamentalist Mormonism.
Right.
And then one of the things is, like, this version of Mormonism, women absolutely have to obey their husbands, and if they don't, that counts as fornication. So the
Which is like
thing
the
that is
ultimate sin.
confusing, so at the beginning, they kill the youngest brothers. The youngest brother of this family had a wife who was Mormon, and her dad was like a more liberal Mormon that lived in, like, Ohio.
Right.
And because she grew up in Ohio, even though they're Mormon, they're more like liberal Mormon, and, like, so the guy that she marries, the youngest brother, likes her because while she is still Mormon, she is a more liberal sect of Mormonism.
Right.
And, like, meeting her family, he saw it as kind of an escape hatch to get out of, like, this toxicness that was in his family. But when she saw the toxicness of what was going on in his family, she was like, we have to help them correct their behavior.
Right.
Like,
right.
they're on the wrong path, and we need to help them get back on the right path.
Yeah.
And because of that, she was quote unquote meddling, and, like,
And
so the murders
disobeying.
So the murders get kicked off because they murder her, and then her 15-month-old baby.
Ooh.
And so, and then it digs into this weirder shit that they're doing as it gets investigated, and you find out stuff like one of the brothers tried to marry his stepdaughters that were, like, 15 and 14, and
Yikes.
all this other awful shit, like,
Yikes.
And so the book Under the Banner of Heaven is nonfiction.
Right. But the show is
the show
a fictional
is,
account of this.
Yeah, the cops are fictional, but the case is real.
Gotcha.
Is basically how they presented it. So, like, the people that got murdered and the guys portrayed that are the murderers are real.
Yeah.
And I think, like, having a native guy be the counterpoint to their weird murder sex cult version of Mormonism is
fascinating.
really good.
Yeah.
Since Mormons have a lot of weird beliefs about natives. And anyway, and the reason why this makes Twilight even more awful is you think about the fact that Jacob is now destined to marry the whitest lady.
Yeah. And be saved because of it. because
Yeah,
she's this
yeah,
like special baby.
and by being with the whitest lady, that ends the conflict between the vampires and the werewolves.
Right,
Like,
right. Oh God.
um,
Ugh.
yeah,
Yikes. Yikes.
and also, while Stephanie Meyer wasn't super like controlling about stuff in the adaptation, the one
Mm-hmm.
thing she was very insistent about is all the Cullens have to be white.
Right.
Um, because they're
Because they're
Mormons.
Mormons. Yeah. They're sparkly Mormon vampires.
Yes. Um, but yeah, like, uh, when I learned that, it's like, oh, that makes Twilight even worse.
Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm. That's real weird. Especially, okay. Especially in like when you get into the context of there was literal government programs to try and breed the native out of people where they were like, let's
Mm-hmm.
marry these native women to white farmers, and if you do that for enough generations then their children will look white and then we've won, and they're
Yeah.
saved forever, hooray. uh, that's called, assimilation, uh, and genocide. It's a fucking problem. So when that is part
Mm-hmm.
of your actual religious tenets, that you should be doing that and in
Yes.
fact is good and right to do so, I have a fucking problem with that.
Yes.
I have a fair amount of religious tolerance. I like people to be able to practice their religions, but when racism and genocidal racism is baked right into your beliefs, that's a problem.
Yeah.
Especially when that is then going to inform your whole worldview. Uh, yeah. What am I doing in this
Um.
panel? Oh yeah, right.
Anyway, Under the Banner of Heaven is really good if you like true crime.
Mm.
Um. But
I have never really been a fan of true crime.
sometimes like it.
Mm.
I feel like it has to tickle me in the right way.
True. I
A
I
YouTube,
watched some
yeah.
of it, but it's all really relevant to my other interests. So there was like a really interesting one about how they were using a murder that had happened in Oklahoma to try and assert land rights because there was a precedent set where the person had been murdered on reserve lands.
Hmm.
And they were able to prove that it was in this area of a farm that had since been like seized from the reserve,
Hmm.
in the like 50 years since the murder. So they were able to go back and like make a land claim based on that and be like, look, this is in the government records that this murder happened here, and it says it's on reserve land. So this was our land.
Did it work?
I think it's still in the courts, but it was definitely a very
Oh,
persuasive
okay.
argument.
I mean, rad if it worked.
Yeah,
Like,
right.
sorry about the murder, but
Yeah.
rad that if it worked. The so there's a YouTuber I like, James Somerton, who made a video that's like the history of gay porn.
Oh, cool.
And what I did not expect is in the middle of that history lesson a detour to run into true crime.
Oh,
Um,
interesting.
because basically, let you know the time period,
Mm-hmm.
there was a gay porn star who, the reason why he was very popular in gay porn
Mm-hmm.
is because he looked like Zac Efron.
Gotcha.
So now you know, like, around what time it happened.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, and there was an issue with, basically, he was a poor kid who got into it because he really needed money, and then, like, but he might not have been of legal age when he started in
Right.
it. And maybe lied about his age, and the guy who made the first movies with him in it knew and
Right.
sort of used that to keep him in a shitty contract.
Right.
Um, like, the guy not knowing that like um the filmmaker's the one that's gonna get in trouble, not you. Like you're now of legal age. Like if you reveal that it was underage, he gets in trouble, not you.
Right.
But then he like is talking to another like filmmaker, and that filmmaker like offers him a better deal than he's getting, and is like the guy is who looks like Zac Efron is like, oh well, I have to like get out of this other contract first. And the other like filmmaker was like, don't worry, I'll take care of it. And I'm watching this assuming that he is going to blackmail the other guy into revealing the information that the Zac Efron lookalike was underage.
Right, yeah.
No, he murdered him. He lit his house on fire and he murdered him.
Well.
Like,
well.
And then had to flee the country so he couldn't give the Zac Efron lookalike a new deal. Like,
oof.
And it's
fascinating.
That is not where I expected that story to go. I was expecting like blackmail scandal, like, and oh no, now the company's getting cracked down on for underage actors. But nope, it went to murder.
Investigation.
Yeah.
Why not a murder?
But it also, this video is very interesting because it kind of went over the fact that a lot of the porn services that we use online
are built around gay porn. Yeah.
Yeah, they got started because of gay porn.
Yeah, because you had to be really circumspect and discreet, so makes sense. So there was already architecture for it.
Like Pornhub got its start because of gay porn. So yeah.
Fascinating.
But yeah. But anyway, like I said, wild to go from Under the Banner of Heaven to Reservation Dogs.
I'm so glad Reservation Dogs exists, because, like, representation aside, it's also the first chance a lot of audiences are getting to see Native folks just being people, like not being the mystical sidekick or the Tonto cowboy sidekick, or whatever the roles that you sort of would expect Native people to play.
Like, I didn't know that the main actress, I'm gonna keep forgetting her name because like Bear is easy to remember, and so is Willie Jack, because those are short syllables,
and they're great names. Yeah.
Her having a fantasy character name is making it infinitely harder for me to remember her name. I didn't know that actress was Native until watching Reservation.
Oh, interesting.
Because she's just one of the werewolves in
she's just a werewolf.
The Order.
Yeah. Have you? I'm sure you haven't, because it's like a real Canadian specific thing. But there's another thing she stars in called Rhymes for Young Ghouls, and it's real good. It's so good. It may be a CBC thing, so it might be available like on the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation's website. But yeah, it's super good. The filmmaker for that actually just passed away recently, which is really sad, because he was like one of the emerging big names in Canadian cinema. And I think it was cancer, so it was a huge loss. But her in that, she's really, you're like, yeah, she's got some serious acting chops.
Well, she is a very fun character in a very bad TV show.
Devery Jacobs. Yeah.
She is the most pro-murder of the werewolves.
Nice. Good.
Whenever main character is like, can we make peace with the rich people wizards?
She's like, no, not.
She's the one that's like, sounds fake.
Yeah, no. Yeah, good.
And then
we cannot and will not.
Like, and there's a part where she is arguing with the main character and making her pro-murder argument, and the main character is like, chill the fuck out, Killith, because her real name's Lilith.
Good.
So he calls her Killith, and then she pauses the argument to be like, okay, first of all, I love that nickname, and you should call me that from now on. And then
Good.
she goes back to arguing.
Good. She's like, approved. Yes. That is my
Like,
name now.
that's a great nickname, and
I
let's
love
do
it.
it.
Yeah. She was also in something called Frost? Winter? Hang on. It's another sort of detective-y show that's Canadian
Mhm.
made. And now I gotta IMDb Devery
I'm
Jacobs.
sensing a pattern with her career.
Yeah, yeah. She
That a
plays
lot of Canadian stuff.
a lot of Canadian stuff. Oh, she's in Spirit
Um,
Rangers. Aw, I gotta watch that. My sister has been showing that to my niece. She's apparently a huge fan of it.
I heard that it's very cute.
Yeah. Where? Oh, Cold. It's called Cold. It's like a Canadian detective series. And my brother plays her shitty ex in one episode. Because it was filming in Sudbury, and he used to live there. And they
Oh,
were like, "We need a native guy with some real shitty tattoos to play like a gang kind of guy." And he's like, "I'm a native guy with some shitty tattoos." Sorry, brother.
um,
It's true though. You got one of them in a kitchen, and it looks like it.
I really like also in Reservation Jobs, the Reservation Dogs. I really like the meth heads.
Oh my god,
Um,
yes.
the meth heads are very funny.
Yes.
Um, have you seen the Netflix adaptation of A Series of Unfortunate Events?
No.
The meth head sidekick, not the main meth head,
Mm-hmm.
um, is in the books, Series of Unfortunate Events. The Count Olaf has several henchmen that
Mm-hmm.
just have descriptors.
Good.
Like there's the creepy twins and the and so they all have like their identifying feature, and then there is the hench person of indeterminate gender,
Good.
because the kids never get the hench person's pronouns basically,
Excellent.
who is played by the sidekick method.
Oh, cool.
um and in the books, um the hench person of uh indefinite in indeterminate gender, um kinda is just a brute that like um doesn't really say anything, mostly just grunts and growls or whatever,
Yeah, yeah,
which is not great. So an improvement in the show compared to the books is um basically they just gave this character lines about like very interesting thoughts on society, and the joke is that Count Olaf is not listening.
yeah.
Like Count
Good.
Olaf like asks his henchmen like what their thoughts are, and then like the henchman of indeterminate gender is like, well, this sounds like a cycle of abuse that's continuing itself through
Good.
victimization and violence.
Excellent.
And then Count Olaf like completely ignores them.
Right. Good. I've been watching a good new show lately
Yeah.
called Peripheral, or The Peripheral, which is based on a William Gibson novel. And I am enjoying the hell out of it. It's so good. Casting's amazing. But what I'm really impressed about is the showrunners, or the writers
Mm-hmm.
specifically, have taken plot points from the book and really space them out in a way that leaves you at the end of the episode being like, oh, I need to find out what happens next episode. Like, whoa, what? Which is totally the way to do a book adaptation, because obviously the book is
Mhm.
paced very differently than like an episodic TV show.
Unless it is a George R. R. Martin book, because
Yeah.
that's how
Yeah.
his things are paced.
Yeah.
Since he used to write for TV.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, like, so this one's been like a really, really good adaptation, and I'm
Cool.
super, super excited to watch more of it. Yeah,
Rad.
it's really rad. I recommend it highly. Obviously, William Gibson fan, liking cyberpunk
I actually don't
generally as a
know
genre.
that. I don't know that much William Gibson.
Hmm.
He did Neuromancer.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
I haven't read any of his stuff.
Gotcha.
And right.
Yeah.
What else has he written? Like, and what's it about?
I mean, there's a bunch of stuff that he's written that became movies. So like Johnny Mnemonic, the Keanu Reeves movie, is based off of one of his short stories. And Neuromancer, obviously. I'm trying to remember, what are some of the other ones that have been turned into movies? Like Burning Chrome.
Oh, I asked Spike and Amanda on Geek Show the where's the line between fantasy and sci-fi thing that we were talking about a couple of weeks ago.
Nice, yeah.
And I when I asked them, I realized while Spike was explaining the Culture series that World's End is a comedy reply to the Culture series.
Ooh.
And I had not like connected those dots until Spike was talking about it.
Cool.
And I know that that has to be the case. Like it isn't like, oh, they accidentally came up with the same ideas as Ian M. Banks.
Yeah.
Because in Hot Fuzz, there's the twins that are like the intake guy at the police station. And Simon Pegg's character is constantly frustrated that the intake guy doesn't remember what he told him last time they talked.
Right.
And it's revealed at the end of the movie that they're twins.
Right.
If you are an eagle-eyed viewer, you can figure out which twin he is talking to.
Ooh.
Because one is reading Ian Banks novels, and the other is reading Ian M. Banks novels.
Okay, that's fun. That's like a deep, just literary nerd joke.
If they know enough about Ian Banks to make that joke with their props,
yes,
then they know enough to write a whole movie that is a reply to the Culture series.
Yep, correct. That's hilarious. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So you should watch World's End if you haven't seen it.
Yeah, I should.
But if I were to read a William Gibson novel, where should I start?
Ooh. That's a very good question.
I'm sure there are audiobooks of it.
Oh no, for sure. I would almost go with a short story to see that if you sort of like the cadence. So like he's famous for having this like really funky cadence for his cyberpunks, where they talk in this like really jargony slang that you just kind of have to catch on to and then read throughout the book. And there's a famous story he has about how it's based off of moving to Canada to avoid the draft. and
Uh-huh.
um, and to get cheaper weed. Uh, and so the like Toronto-based pot scene at the time um, was very jargony, and it's like so cyberpunks talk like they do because of Canadian stoners in the like 40s and 50s. Hang on.
Well, because I audiobook it,
Mhm.
they usually don't do short stories on their own.
No, no, not usually. I would.
They do big collections.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Johnny Mnemonic is interesting. I quite like Mona Lisa Overdrive. That's probably a good place to start. You could jump in with Neuromancer as well. That's some pretty deep cyberpunk. I really like Mona Lisa Overdrive. I like the characters in there. I like the story.
um, Johnny Mnemonic is also that Keanu Reeves movie, right?
Yes, yeah. It's the one where he's got like an implant in his brain and he's a courier for it
Yes.
and he can't access it. Yeah.
He's a data courier,
He's a
yeah.
data courier. And it's really great uh, up until the weird shit at the end, which doesn't exist if you just stop watching the movie a little bit early, and then it's a great movie. It's
I
just a
know
little
he
bit
has
weirder.
the room service speech.
Yeah, yeah.
That's all I know about Johnny Mnemonic. Um,
Still a good movie. Also, Keanu Reeves has played a lot of dudes named Johnny or John. Because obviously there's like 3 John Wick movies.
I
Just
mean, John's a very common name.
it's true. And if you're trying to do an everyman and you're getting Keanu to play him, you're just gonna have a lot of dudes named John.
There is a YouTuber I like who he just does really long videos that are basically is blank game as good as I remember, where he plays games that are like 10 years old, 15 years old.
Good.
And his newest one is LA Noir.
Ooh.
Um, so he's revisiting LA Noir to figure out like how good it does it live up to his memory. And I know a lot of the cast of Mad Men is in LA Noir
Right.
because one of the commentaries on my Mad Men Blu-ray is the actors going off on a LA Noir tangent because they're like, "Oh hey, I was in this video game," and then
Right.
everyone was like, "Oh yeah,
Me
I was in
too.
it too."
Hilarious.
Um, and then watching this video, I was like, "Okay, I knew Ken and Paul were in it. I didn't know Pete was in it." And then like I actually pulled up the IMDb for LA Noir and half the cast is from Batman. Like I guess cuz they already had old-timey haircuts.
Oh, I guess. That makes sense.
Like cuz early 60s is 50s-ish and that's close enough to late 40s.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But they're like, yeah, good enough. We'll tidy up the
Yeah.
sides a little bit and you're good. You're good for the 40s.
They didn't even have to do that cuz when I say like 61, it's like it's almost indistinguishable. Like a conservative haircut in 61 is
That's true.
indistinguishable from
Especially
a
for the men.
50s and 40s
Like,
haircut.
yeah.
Yeah.
The women would need a slight alteration, but not a ton.
Yeah. Basically everyone except for John Hamm is in LA Noir.
Good. Man, I also just love the episode in Reservation Dogs where they go hunting, where Willie Jack goes hunting with their dad.
yeah.
There is a line in there that makes me howl with laughter every time, and it's just the moment that the Texans come out of the woods. There's just
Yeah.
some random Texans who are out there hunting as well, and they're just muttering like taxes, immigrants. It's so well done, and it makes me
I
howl
love
every
the
time.
little montage of the trail cam,
Oh hell yeah,
like them in front of it over and over again.
yeah.
Man, I love Cheese. Cheese
Cheese
is
is a good
great.
cheese is a good boy.
I love that Cheese, like, is just definitely read up on his shit.
Mhm.
I like that the Asian doctor has the hots for Bear's mom
Yes.
and is completely incompetent.
Yes. I also love that the snarky auntie who is the receptionist at the Native Health Clinic is just like
Hey, this
so that
girl with a
lady.
stomach ache is selling meat pies.
Yeah.
Do you want one?
Good.
Yeah, some good ass shit.
Oh man. Okay, that's probably enough. Time for the pine needles. Close up of pine tree. Has lots of pine needles. I love that the kids in Reservation Dogs are like such archetypes.
Mm-hmm.
Like they were like, okay, there's the punk kid who's kind of got to prove himself. He's got like a big plan.
I love
Sort
that
of dumb
Bear
shit.
keeps saying he's the leader, and
Yes, and
everyone
everyone's
is
like,
like, "No, you aren't."
no. The kid with a chip on his shoulder who's got to prove himself.
Mm-hmm.
He's got to be tough and strong and smart and great. And then there's like the chick who's got like I gotta be the mom to a lot of people, so I kind of have to get my shit together, even though I'm like 14, 15, 16.
Mm-hmm.
I've probably been like helping to raise my siblings or whatever. And then there's the good boy. That good boy. He's a little shy. He's a little soft.
He's a good boy.
He's a good boy.
Cheese is a good boy.
Yeah, he has real nice, real shy, quiet parents. They're real good, and he's only hanging out with these troublemakers because they're his friends. They probably like kept him from getting beat up once. And he's like, yes, good. I'm your friend now forever. And then there's
I
Willie
love
Jack,
Cheese.
who's just 100% attitude. She's like, I'm the toughest. Do not fuck with me.
I love Willie Jack. I love that she's like, let's put a curse on that girl.
Mhm. Mhm. I was really interested to see though that like they went with because Willie Jack on the res is usually somebody who comes from a real tough household, and that's why she's like, I'm the toughest bitch. Do not fuck with me, because she's had to sort of be that way at home. And I was like, no, actually, her dad and her have a good relationship. Like it's clearly been a real tough time for her.
See,
She just kind of like that.
I didn't read her as tough. I read her as um just dry.
Yeah, which is also it's
Uh
also a way, a way to be.
yeah, yeah, I felt it less that she's tough and more just that she's just dry.
Yeah,
Um
she's a
and
bit
it
of a
might be
scrapper.
cuz she
Like
really likes
she would throw
goofy
down.
things.
Yeah,
Um uh cuz yeah, I actually read the other girl as being the tough one.
yeah, yeah. No, she very much is. She's had to get her shit together because her mom is kind of, you know, maybe
Well,
doesn't
her
have her shit
mom's
together.
dead.
Yeah, yeah.
Her mom's dead, and then um, her aunt like took off, and
Exactly.
so
So
she
she's
lives with
really
her
had to.
grandma who's dying.
Yep. So she's like the parent for herself
Hmm.
through these tough times, which is why she's like, right, had to get my shit together at a really young age. I also really like in the episode of The Weed Uncle that they he's got that owl uh like keep
Owl
birds away
censored.
out of your thing, yeah. But because it's a cultural thing in the South where you do not look an owl in the eye, they like censored the owl.
They censored it. Yeah,
Yeah, I love that. And they didn't explain
it's
it.
rad.
They were just like, you either know or you don't know. Either way, this owl's censored. I was like, good.
I
Excellent.
had to explain that to the anime kids for them.
Oh yeah? They're like, what's
Discord
up with
that I'm
that
in.
owl?
Because we were talking about TV shows, and one
Yeah.
of them noted the owl thing.
Right. Like,
Um,
yo, that's a death omen. Don't look an owl in the eye. So they kindly censored it. So you didn't risk it.
Owls be spooky.
Spooks. I like in Cree, owls are called oho, which is just the noise they make.
Good.
Yeah. Just an onomatopoeia.
Um, Before I do my movie nights, I usually put on a YouTube that I use to like make sure everything's working.
Yeah.
Um, and I was rewatching a Sophie from Mars video
Oh,
where
good.
she reviews an indie game that you might like called Cloudpunk.
Oh, I've downloaded that one. I haven't played it yet.
Sophie from Mars basically, while talking about it, um, says like Cloudpunk does a better job critiquing capitalism than Cyberpunk.
Oh no,
The
Cyberpunk
game.
is not a critique of capitalism. It's
Yeah, no.
it's just a distillation of what the cyberpunk genre has become.
Um, but so like Sophie's point about Cyberpunk is that she's let down by it because it's very capitalist realism in that there's no other option besides capitalism and
Yes.
despair.
Yeah. And we've had to talk about her amazing takedown of Johnny Silverhand as like the worst activist, the worst kind of activist possible.
Yeah.
He's not an activist, he's just a terrorist.
And so the point of like Cloudpunk though is that because Cloudpunk is less serious and is goofier, they can actually do a better job exploring the problems of capitalism.
Yeah.
Because they're okay with being absurd.
Right.
So like an example is that there is a gang of robots that talk about that they're doing the worst crimes imaginable.
Good.
And their worst crimes imaginable is urban reclamation.
Good. Excellent.
Because if you are a robot who has been programmed with the values of capitalism and you want to rebel against them, taking a factory which creates wealth and jobs and things capitalism cares about, and turning it into a free park for anyone to enjoy,
that's punk.
Against capitalism.
That's punk
like
AF.
That is the worst crime in capitalism.
Yes, good.
Capitalism doesn't care about murder or theft because those conserve capitalism. Making a factory into a public park.
Seizing the means of production. Turning it into something communal.
It's not even seizing the means of production. That is like destroying the means of
Yes.
production so people can enjoy nature and relax.
That is punk as fuck. Love it. Which, and relaxation is in and of itself in direct defiance
Yeah.
of capitalism and always having to
Yeah.
produce to justify your existence.
Yeah.
Good. Good. I'm looking forward to getting into that one.
Also, when you uh play it,
Yeah.
let me know what you think of Camus.
Kaboo?
He is a dog
Good. Excellent.
who is a
I'm
car. He is a
good.
dog who is a car. He is a dog car.
Excellent. I love it.
Um, Dry Otter, have a good night.
Thanks for joining us, Dry Outer.
All right. Oh wait, actually, his name is pronounced Camus, but he's named after Camus.
Mm,
Um, but it's spelled the same way as Camus, which is why I call him Camus.
gotcha.
Because he's named after the guy who wrote The Stranger.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Cool.
because as Sophie from Mars explains in her video, and is Camus made the philosophical point that imagine Sisyphus happy.
Right.
Um, if Sisyphus likes um, rolling the rock up the hill,
Yep.
or he likes maybe that moment right before the rock falls down,
Mm,
um, it like that makes his fate still repetitive but less sad.
yeah.
Like,
Yep.
and so that is like an existential question of like, okay, so like the punishment is supposed to be the futility, but like
If he's
if
come
you
to enjoy
enjoy the
it.
futile thing that you're
Yeah.
doing, is it still futility? Like,
Yeah.
um, and that is part of what The Stranger is a little bit of an examination of.
Interesting.
Have you read The Stranger?
I have not.
Um, People don't like it because there's a hate crime in it.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Gotcha.
But the reason why it stuck with me when I read it in high school, or was forced to read it in high school, is um, it starts with mother died today, or maybe it was yesterday.
Fascinating.
Um, and the summary is that it's a guy who basically is the definition of goes with the flow. So like his mom dies and he goes to her funeral, but he doesn't really care that she died. And right after the funeral, he meets up with a girl that he likes, and she's like, "Let's go swimming," and he's like, "Okay." And then they fool around and they have a nice meal, and a lot of the description is about the immediate moments,
Mm,
um, and he like has no thoughts about the future or how things are connecting, but he also doesn't judge anyone. So people think he's a little weird.
right.
So like
Right.
the girl that he's hanging out with and likes, there's a part where she's like, "Do you want to get married?" And he says, "If you want to."
Right. Because he doesn't
Like,
care. He's like, whatever.
he is enjoying the meal they're eating right now and the sex that they are having right now.
Right.
So sure, why not?
Because he's living
Like,
entirely in the moment.
um, and then his neighbor is a weird gangster guy and a pimp.
Mm,
Um, and everyone else is like, "Oh, don't talk to that guy. He's creepy and gross."
right.
And the guy goes up to him and he's like, "Hey, what's up?" And he's like, "I'm smoking this awesome cigarette and I just fucked this girl that I like. What's up with you?" Um, and then the gangster guy is like, gangster guy is Middle Eastern, and he's like, uh, the brother of one of the girls that I manage as a prostitute is mad at me and says like I hurt his sister and like yeah, I beat her up, but that's because she owes me money. Like, what do you think about that? And he's like, no thoughts, head empty. Like,
No thoughts,
and
only
then the pimp
vibes.
is like, well, here's a gun. You should come with me. And he's like, oh, okay.
Okay, I guess I will.
Um,
Buddy.
and then he kills the guy who's mad about his sister
Yeah.
getting beat up by the pimp. Um, confronts the pimp, and then the main character shoots this guy.
Oof.
Um, and then he's put on trial for murder, and he is found guilty because they're like, he didn't cry at his mom's funeral. Clearly, he's a monster. And
Right.
then he went on a date with this girl and didn't let her know that his mom had just died, and like didn't talk about it at all with her. And like, um, what kind of monster doesn't cry when his mom doesn't cry at his mom's funeral or
Right.
whatever?
They're like, sociopath tendencies. Yeah.
Um, so it's sort of like, yeah, he killed that guy, but he claims he did it in self-defense.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like his actions outside of the murder are what get him convicted.
Right. Not the
And it
actual
is, yeah.
circumstances of said crime.
Mm-hmm.
Fascinating.
Because like he can argue self-defense,
Mm-hmm.
but it's also, why'd you have the gun? And he's like, because this guy gave it to me. And why did he give you the gun? I don't know. Like,
It's like, well, you knew he was a
he
gangster,
just gave
right?
me
You'd
the
be
gun
like,
and told me to come with him.
yeah?
Like, it's
Yeah.
like, why do you associate with this gangster? And it's, he's my neighbor.
Right.
And
Just being neighborly.
like, yeah. And so it's a lot of like, what is the point of any of this?
Mm.
And it's a lot of, he doesn't really think about the past and the present and the future until he's in prison.
Right.
And that's like the second half of the book.
Right.
Um, so anyway, it is a famous existentialism book, which
Interesting.
a lot of my classmates thought was weird. Um, uh, but clearly made an impression on me.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think the two existentialism books that I read in high school are the ones that I remember the best. Because the other one that we read was A Man's Search for Meaning,
Mm.
which is all about a guy surviving the Holocaust.
Yup.
Have you read that one?
I have not read that one. I've heard of it though. I'm like familiar with it.
Uh, I remember reading it because it stuck with me because it was basically the thesis of the whole book is a man with a why to live can endure almost anyhow.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I have a character who is depressed,
Right.
that I would keep that in mind while writing them.
Right. Right.
Uh,
God, now I'm trying to remember what we did read. I know we read a bunch of Canadian specific stuff because I mean, obviously Canada.
yeah.
Obviously we did.
I didn't read those in English class. I read them in I think psych class.
Oh, okay, cool.
We had an optional psych class at my high school.
Nice.
What
They
do
very much did
Canadian
not.
philosophers think?
It sure is cold, bud. Most of the Canadian literature that we read was all like either based on Canadian Wild. So we read like some Farley Mowat and Robert Frost and like Canada, it's vast and cold kind of man versus environment
Yeah.
books. And then there was what the hell was that book called? No, no, my brain's not giving me the title tonight. But it's like a historical era Canada one. It's all very like British centric, and I rolled my eyes at it mightily because I was like, this seems like indoctrination. We're not going to hear anything about Native history, only colonialism.
Um, I
Which
grew
I,
up in Massachusetts, which is where Walden Pond is. So we
ooh,
all read
I'm sure.
James Thoreau's story about how he decided to live in a cabin in Walden Pond because then we could go to a field trip to his cabin.
Right.
Uh, we did not talk about how his mom came to do his laundry, and
Hmm.
that his whole book is bullshit.
So that he could then
But
sit and pontificate and be an amazing writer. Yeah,
I rolled my eyes a lot reading that book.
yeah. Oh God, they made us read Gray Owl. Gray Owl is like a white guy who came and lived in northern Saskatchewan because he was like, I think natives are real cool. I'm gonna be a native now. And it's like that's not how that works. But he got like real famous for it, and people would come and see him and like visit his cabin. And it was like a trendy thing to do, and so he wrote a book about it. Anyway, that was dumb. I hated reading that book.
Walden Pond's not that bad. He's at least
Good.
not deciding that he's native now. He
Yeah.
just lived in a cabin next to the woods and talked about how he's great because he gave up material possessions
Mhm.
and lady and life sure is better without all of modern society, man.
Also, when your mom
Um
will do your laundry for you so that you can go live in a
yeah,
tent.
leaving out that his mom would come visit and do his laundry, and and he's also from a super wealthy family, so he's
Yeah,
was at no risk of ever starving to death.
no,
So
not even once.
um it's not like fucking Hatchet.
Yeah.
But did you have to read Hatchet
No.
in middle school? Do you know what Hatchet's about?
No.
Hatchet is about a teen boy is the only survivor of a plane crash. The plane lands in the lake. Uh so he has no way of like radioing for help, and then he just has to like live in the woods. Um and he he got a couple of things out of the plane while escaping.
Mhm.
Um so I think he does have like a lighter to start with.
Gotcha.
But he does have to figure out how to like make a fire with like rocks and sticks and whatnot. But like the only modern thing he has is a hatchet. So which is why it's titled that.
Mm.
And it is literally just survivalist porn. Um like
How to survive.
it at least has the benefit of the kid is doing it out of necessity rather than some bullshit I am happier without modern society
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
nonsense. It is like the thing that I remember the most about it is that a moose almost kills him in the middle of it.
Don't fuck with a moose,
Um,
man. They will fuck you
yeah,
up.
well, he had never encountered a moose, so it's the author giving a lesson to any kids that
Right,
don't
right.
live near where mooses
It's
are.
like, yo,
Mooses are
mooses
not
are
your friend, and
scary.
you should stay away from them. Yeah,
Yeah.
so because he's trying to, because he has to figure out how to hunt various things,
Oh,
and
don't
only
hunt a
has his
moose
hatchet.
with a hatchet.
Yeah, yeah,
Sir.
he learns
Sir.
that's a no. Um,
Don't do
but
that.
and it ends with him getting rescued because
Right.
apparently even though the plane was at the bottom of a lake, like the black box or whatever was sending out a signal.
Oh,
So
gotcha. So they're like, we can still find you.
yeah, but it took like 3 months. So um and then the sequel is like, well, what if they didn't find him?
Uh, I
And
thought it was
that
like
thing
he
didn't
falls out of
work.
a plane again. Wah wah.
No, it's basically like, okay, what if the black box wasn't working? So you
Right.
read the first book and only the last chapter didn't happen. And we were
Right.
picking up from the end of the second to last chapter in the first book. So
Cool,
then
cool,
he
cool.
has to survive the winter.
Mm,
And I think um some native folks find him is how he gets found at the end of
right.
the winter one. Um because it's basically like he has to figure out how to make warm clothes for the winter.
Right.
And because of that, he is wearing like um animal furs that accidentally like look closer to what like the natives would have worn in the winter.
Right. So like, so there's like a
Um
crazy native dude living over on his own. We should go check it out. And they're like, oh wait, you're a white guy. Hi. Hi, how's it
yeah,
going? Do you
basically
need
that's
help?
exactly what
Do you need
happens.
help?
Like they yeah, like it was basically they were like, "Oh, when we first saw you, we thought like maybe you were just like a super traditionalist
Yeah,
like
yeah.
hunter." Because he also had to figure out how to make like a bow and arrow.
Right,
And they're
right.
like
We thought you was just old
but
school, but you're like a lost white guy, so do you need help?
you're a lost white guy, so we'll help you. Basically.
We thought you were just tradish, just super tradish, but apparently
Yeah.
not.
That is like literally how it ends. But yeah, Hatchet better than Walden Pond or
Look at
whatever,
this
because at
fucking
least
guy over
he's
here
not
just
like
living real tradish on the land.
yeah. At least he's
Just
not
a
like
hatchet.
pontificating how this is better. It's more about like this sucks. I miss my TV and my comfy bed
Yeah,
and
yeah, but here's
my
how what I have
video
to do to
games.
survive.
Yeah. Turns out not fun.
No,
Um,
no.
Indoor plumbing is great.
Super awesome. It's great. I love it. I love it, and I'm saying this as a person who loves the outdoors. Uh,
Yeah.
I I I have some decent survival skills. I like going outside. I like my house. I like my hot showers. I like being indoors in the wintertime.
Yeah.
Except when I'm,
Um,
for short sports related outdoor excursions.
so I'm just thinking of like other bullshit. Um, the thing that I hated about shit that we read in school is it's like in hindsight as an adult, I understand what my school curriculum was trying to do.
Yeah.
Because we actually didn't read that many classic books.
Mm,
At my school, we read a lot of modern books written about teenagers that were
right.
all super fucking depressing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We
Um,
read a few of
and
those
it
too.
wasn't
The
until I
Outsiders
was
and yeah.
it wasn't even those like these are books that no one has fucking heard of.
Oh, jeez.
Like
Cool. Great.
um like there was a book about a Japanese girl and her mom sticks her head in the oven and kills herself at the beginning of the book, and that is the happiest moment in the book.
Woof.
Because it's all about how her dad gets remarried and then her stepmom hates her and then she like and then her dad's annoyed at her for like fucking up his supposed perfect family and like
How
she
dare.
she got trauma because her mom died and
Mm-hmm.
like um and as is depressing train. And then we read a book titled Bruises, which is
Woof.
about a kid in Sweden who is getting beat the hell by her mom up.
Right. It's cool,
Like
cool, 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 cool. Yep.
so it's all about dealing with a parent that beats you,
Cool. I
and
mean,
how
I'm glad those that need it have the information if they need it. But whew,
I don't even think it's like a helpful book, like here's how you get out of it. It's more like to explain to other kids how traumatic that is.
right. They're like, just so you know, this
Um
is a thing that some kids might have to deal with. And you're like, yikes.
and then another one was about a Hawaiian girl, Native Hawaiian girl, and the boy she likes is white and his friends are all racist
Mm,
and she is sad because white boys are racist.
that'd be a thing.
And then and it's kind of like now that I've gotten older, I realized, oh, they're trying to make us read about as many different
Experiences.
ethnicities as possible,
Yeah. It's
but
not, I mean, I
they're
would be
all
fascinated in
fucking
that book. Yeah,
depressing.
yeah, yeah.
Like my takeaway wasn't oh, I should read more about different cultures. It was these are all really depressing and I don't want to read anymore.
Can I read
um
some, like, I don't know, something fun? No.
and
No.
it was
Literature is
literally like,
depressing.
and I remember a English teacher asking why we don't like to read.
Right. It's 'cause it's all
And
fucking
I
sad.
literally said, well, I said like, because literally everything is depressing. Like everything you want us to read is depressing. It is
Yep.
awful. I hate it. Like, and I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
and I
yeah.
feel like at least if we read the classics, like I know that like, okay, it's a bunch of old shitty white guys, but
But,
like
like, yeah.
because they're classics and other people are forced to read them and then they get referenced in a lot of things, at least
Right.
we then understand a cultural reference
We
or
have
touchstone that a lot of people
context.
have.
Right.
Whereas with these, no one else has fucking read them and they're all depressing. Like,
Oh man, that just reminds me. So the one coolest thing that my high school English teacher did is we had to do the Shakespeare unit because I think it was like grade 9 or something. And he's like, okay, we're doing Shakespeare. I'm sure you've all heard of Shakespeare before because you know blah 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 blah. And so he brought out Romeo and Juliet, and he's like, Romeo and Juliet. What do you all know about this? And people were like, oh, it's like such a love story. It's like the greatest love story ever written. Blah 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 blah. And he
it's
let
about
us
how
like
teens are dumb.
and then he like slammed the book down really hard on the desk and he's like, no, it's about how teenagers are idiots. And we were all
Well,
like,
here's the
whoa.
thing. When we finally, because reading,
It's good.
we did read a Shakespeare book every year, and that was
Yeah.
like the exception to the not reading classics rule.
Right, right.
um and because we read Romeo and Juliet, Midsummer Night's Dream,
Yep.
and then we read Hamlet.
Mm.
And I remember reading Romeo and Juliet, and the thing that struck me is like, oh, Romeo's a fuck boy
Oh yeah. Oh fuck
because
yeah.
he starts the book
Pining for
um depressed and
yeah.
upset because this other girl doesn't like
Yeah.
him. And like if that girl had given him any encouragement and then broke up with him, I feel like he would have killed himself over her too.
For sure.
um
100%.
so he was maybe looking for an excuse.
Yeah.
And I realized that I like Shakespeare's comedies more than his tragedies.
Same.
um I also learned through this experience that um uh you know when you're a shitty teen who thinks you're smarter than the teacher,
Mhm. 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 Mhm.
um but
And you're just
sometimes
insufferable because you're
you
a
know
teen.
another shitty teen
Yep.
who like, oh, you're not that smart because otherwise you would have picked a better battle to fight.
Mhm.
um because the teacher that had us read Hamlet fucking loved Hamlet. Hamlet was her favorite book in the world.
Well, don't subject it to teens
um
then. They'll tear it to shreds.
well, and then the other thing is she was not afraid to let everyone know that she was a feminist.
Mm.
Um, like she
And we're talking
really
like 90s feminist, not modern day feminist.
not Not modern day feminist. She was an
Yeah.
older lady, so she's probably a feminist in the 70s.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. 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 Okay.
Okay,
That means
so
that's a very specific genre of
well,
feminist. Yeah.
I feel like regardless of what type of feminist she was, what this guy I knew in class did, like this was the wrong fight to do. Like if you're
Mm-hmm.
gonna troll the teacher, this is the wrong battle. Like um we had to write an essay, we had to make a statement about Hamlet, and then we had to argue it in an essay to like back it up with examples in the in the text.
Right.
Um, so kind of there are no wrong answers, but this kid found the wrong answer.
Oh no.
Um, and that wrong answer is that Hamlet is really a woman because a man would never be so indecisive.
Oh, sir. Sir. Young teenage idiot.
So he got an F.
Yep. Oof.
Uh, and yeah, I just remember like that was the wrong decision, sir.
Yeah. Yeah. That was not where to go with that.
Um, other fun stories about one of the other classics we did read because it fit in the theme with suffering children
Mm-hmm.
was Catcher in the Rye.
Oh yeah, we read that one too.
Um, and my teacher at least had a sense of humor about it. I feel like a
Good.
lot of people's opinions about Catcher in the Rye are probably painted by how their teacher
Mm-hmm.
presented it to them. Before we started it, he handed out a sheet of paper that was a 30-second summary of Catcher in the Rye,
Right.
which read, no, not even 30 seconds, 10 seconds. Ank swear curse, ank swear curse, everyone's is phony and I'm a stupid jerk, ank swear curse.
Good. Good. Excellent.
Um, and the other thing I remember about reading Catcher in the Rye in high school is we had, as a class, our teacher said, okay, so I want you to all write a thing on the blackboard that describes Holden Caulfield, and you cannot repeat something that is already on the board. Um, so it gets to my turn, and I was near the end, and I put gay.
Good.
And then the kid after me, because it was the early 2000s, thought I meant gay as just an insult, and
Oh
then like
no.
erased it because they thought I was being like homophobic.
Yeah. And you're
But
like,
before they
no.
did that,
Yeah.
the teacher stopped them and said, "Kel, can you defend um
This statement. Yeah.
what's gay about Holden Caulfield?" And I'm like, "Well, he keeps noticing how attractive dudes are." And then he couldn't fuck the prostitute.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was the line from his friend that's in Hollywood, who is like, a lot of people are gay and don't even know that they're gay.
Right.
And um uh and it turned out that my teacher's college like thesis was about the homoerotic subtext in Catcher
Oh,
in the Rye.
excellent. Good. So they were like, well done for picking
Yeah,
up on that.
cool.
Good.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Um so that's all I remember about Catcher in the Rye.
Mm,
That and he liked feeding the ducks.
yes. Okay. I think I am at a good stopping point for tonight. I need to get
Yeah, me
confirmation
too.
on this tent before I draw these characters. So that's good. That's a good place to stop.
Um uh Thanks everyone for stopping by. We're gonna wrap up a little bit early. Violet, I'm glad that you also remember a tiny bit about Catcher in the Rye. Y'all have a good one. Um, and later.
Yeah, we'll talk to y'all later. Bye.